Deep within a forgotten digital chamber, a long-dormant system suddenly flickered back to life. A player named Lu had been missing from the server for exactly 100 years. While he slept, his auto-farming script had been accumulating energy points at an astronomical rate. Lu opened his eyes, feeling the surge of billions of points flowing through his virtual veins. He stepped out into the new world, realizing his trash tamer class was no longer a burden. News of a dangerous rare portal opening spread through the city of adventurers like wildfire. A crowd of high-level players gathered, including a duo known for their supreme gear and even higher egos. Lin sneered at a broke adventurer walking toward the entrance, not recognizing her former lover. She mocked his cheap robes, telling him that a loser like him would die within seconds. Lu stopped, looking back with a cold, piercing gaze that silenced the crowd. He casually remarked that he was glad she found someone to take his used goods off his hands. Lin's new boyfriend, a man in shining gold armor, stepped forward to defend her honor. He swung a vertical slash with all his might, aiming to crush the arrogant newcomer. The blade hit Lu's shoulder with a metallic clang, but did not leave even a single scratch. Lu simply brushed the sword aside, his aura flaring with a terrifying pressure. He entered the portal alone, leaving the supreme duo standing in the dust of their own failure. Inside, the dungeon was a nightmare landscape of jagged rocks and shifting shadows. Lu walked into the starter shop and spent a fortune on a single one-star wooden staff. He began pouring billions of energy points into the weapon, forcing it to evolve. The humble wood transformed into a legendary golden scepter pulsing with forbidden power. Now armed, he summoned his first companion to the battlefield. A massive silver-armored scorpion emerged from the summoning circle, clicking its pincers. A horde of giant rats rushed toward them, but Lu did not even move. The scorpion's tail lashed out in a blur, decapitating 3 monsters in a single strike. Lu walked through the carnage, his presence alone causing the weaker monsters to flee. Suddenly, the ground shook as the dungeon's final boss made its grand entrance. The 2 metal titans locked pincers, the sound of grinding steel echoing like thunder. Lu raised his scepter, casting a series of rapid-fire spells to support his summon. Fireballs and ice shards pelted the boss, shattering its thick outer shell. With a final coordinated strike, the boss was crushed beneath a mountain of energy. A system message announced to the entire world that a new record had been set by Zero. Lin and her boyfriend watched the screen in disbelief, their pride shattered. Lu stepped out of the portal, his level having jumped dozens of times in a single run. He ignored the scouts from major guilds who rushed to recruit him on the spot. A notification on his phone reminded him of his true purpose in this world. His younger brother was still in the hospital, and the bills were piling up fast. He needed a way to turn his in-game power into real-world wealth. A sketchy job offer on a forum caught his eye, promising millions for a professional coach. The post warned that previous coaches had all met a mysterious and violent end. Lu clicked the button with a smirk, welcoming the danger that was about to find him. He needed a way to pay off his brother's massive medical bills, and this sketchy job listing was his only hope. The task required him to coach a mysterious player through the entire first world for a staggering 400,000 yuan. He put on his VR headset, feeling the familiar hum of the system as it digitized his consciousness. He materialized in Doomsday Town, a place where players crowded together to avoid the monsters lurking outside. Among the noisy crowd, he spotted a lone figure wearing a heavy brown cloak and a deep hood. This was Sujin, the infamous disastrous caster that every player in the town spoke of with fear. Lu sent a party invitation, his golden name appearing in the air before her eyes. She looked up in surprise, her pink hair catching the light as she realized someone was actually willing to team up with her. Lu explained the mechanics clearly, stating they needed to farm 1,000 monsters to unlock the boss. Sujin warned him that her vessel of disaster class would bring nothing but tragedy to those nearby. Suddenly, a group of high-level players surrounded them, laughing at the trash duo attempting a quest. Lu stepped forward, his eyes glowing with the energy of 1 billion accumulated points. He didn't have time for small fry, so he summoned his silver-armored scorpion to clear the path. The bullies scattered in terror, realizing they had provoked a monster in human skin. Lu turned back to Sujin, telling her it was time to start the real grind. They spent the next few hours tearing through hordes of mutated spiders and wolves. Sujin watched in awe as her experience bar filled up faster than she ever thought possible. Finally, a massive red portal appeared, signaling the entrance to the boss's lair. On the other side stood the Berserker Swine King, a level 10 raid boss that looked like a mountain of muscle. The monster charged immediately, its hooves cracking the stone floor with every step. Lu didn't move, simply raising his frost scepter to meet the beast's fury. A wall of ice erupted from the ground, stopping the massive boar in its tracks with a thunderous crash. Lu yelled for Sujin to use her magic, telling her this was the moment to break her curse. She hesitated, her hands shaking as she tried to summon a spell she had failed 100 times before. Lu grabbed her shoulder, his voice low and firm, telling her that he believed in her power. Something inside Sujin snapped, and the purple aura around her exploded into a column of dark light. She unleashed a taboo spell, a forbidden magic that only the most cursed classes could wield. The spell struck the Swine King, disintegrating its armor and life force in a single devastating blast. Sujin fell to her knees, tears of joy streaming down her face as she saw her class change notification. Lu walked over and patted her head, telling her she did a good job for her first real fight. They collected the rare drops, including a legendary orb that hummed with ancient energy. It was time to leave the game world and handle the business in the real world. Lu woke up in his chair, immediately checking his bank account to see the transfer was complete. He immediately paid the hospital fees, ensuring his brother would stay in treatment for another few months. However, his peace was short-lived as a new message arrived from the Misty Rain Pavilion Guild. They were offering him a permanent position as a lead trainer with a massive monthly salary. Lu knew that joining a guild meant losing his freedom, but he needed the protection they offered. He decided to meet them in the game world, specifically in the dangerous Undead Fortress safe zone. As he approached the gate, he felt a presence watching him from the shadows, someone much stronger than a normal player. A mysterious assassin stepped out, his blades dripping with a black, oily poison. Lu didn't hesitate, summoning his Skeleton King pet to block the assassin's sudden lunge. The clash of steel and bone echoed through the streets, drawing the attention of everyone in the safe zone. Lu realized this wasn't a random attack, it was a targeted hit from someone who knew his true identity. With a swift combo of fire and ice, Lu forced the assassin to retreat back into the shadows. The assassin left behind a single token, a silver coin with the insignia of the War Guild, his next great enemy. Lu knew the war had just begun, and he was no longer just a player in the game. He gripped his scepter tight, ready to show the world the true power of a supreme necromancer. But as he turned to leave, a familiar voice called out to him from the dark, whispering a secret he thought was buried forever. The screen faded to black as the voice mentioned the name of the one person Lu couldn't protect 100 years ago. The air in the fourth world felt thick with the scent of ancient decay and dragon fire. Lu stood at the edge of a cliff, his eyes scanning the horizon for the legendary corpse dragon. He knew that the name mentioned in his past life held the key to his unfinished business. Shadows shifted at the base of the mountains as the Dark Clan began to assemble. Lu raised his scepter, signaling the start of the final defense. The War Guild's main forces charged across the plains, their armor clanking like a funeral march. The vice leader of the War Guild screamed for Lu's head, his face twisted in jealousy. Lu merely sighed as he felt the energy of 221 billion points surging through his veins. He slammed the base of his scepter into the ground, cracking the earth beneath him. The Dark Skeleton King erupted from the fissure, its massive blade gleaming with malice. Sujin appeared by Lu's side, her hands wreathed in brilliant violet flames. With a thunderous roar, the skeleton summon swung its dark blade through the enemy ranks. Arrows rained down from the sky, but Sujin cast a protective light shield around them. Lu ignored the small fry and focused his gaze on the War Guild leader. The leader launched a desperate lightning strike, but Lu didn't even flinch. "Is this the best the second-rank guild can do?" Lu asked with a smirk. Behind him, the corpse dragon let out a bone-chilling shriek and took to the skies. It unleashed a torrent of spectral fire, incinerating the War Guild's siege weapons. Sujin laughed as she watched their enemies scramble in fear. The Dark Clan leader, Goya, joined the fray with a twin-bladed assault. Bodies piled high as the Alliance of Shadows proved too much for the greedy guild. The War Guild leader tried to flee, but the Skeleton King blocked his path. "You sold your soul for a title that you never deserved," Lu whispered. With a single snap of his fingers, Lu sent a wave of frost that froze the leader where he stood. The remaining guild members dropped their weapons and surrendered in terror. Sujin walked up to Lu and rested her hand on his arm, her eyes shining with gratitude. The corpse dragon landed softly and bowed its head to Lu in a show of ultimate respect. Lu felt a notification clear his quest, awarding him the legendary Dragon Tamer title. He had protected his friends and secured the safety of the third and fourth worlds. But Lu knew that his journey was far from over as long as the hospital bills remained. He needed to translate this digital power into real-world security for his family. Yao approached Lu, offering a handshake and a promise of eternal partnership. Lu accepted, knowing that even a lone farmer needed allies in this chaotic world. He thought back to the girl who had recognized him as Ashura. The secret of his reincarnation was a burden he would carry with pride. No longer was he just a trash tamer, he was the master of his own fate. He would dismantle any guild that dared to exploit the weak for profit. Sujin called out his name, inviting him back to the safe zone for a victory feast. For the first time in a century, Lu felt at home in the world he once knew. The legend of the 100-year AFK farmer had only just begun to shake the foundations of reality. He watched the sunset, knowing his brother would receive the best care money could buy. The billion-point hoard was his shield, and his summons were his sword. Darkness and light now served the same master in this new era of gaming. Lu finally closed his eyes, not for another century, but for a well-deserved rest. Justice had been served, and the farmer's legacy was etched forever in the stars.